Good morning and welcome to PG Connect's Helsinki 2023. How are we doing? Not that well it turns out. How are we doing? Come on, how are we doing? We good? Yes, thank you. Cool. My name's Chris James. I'm the CEO of Steel Media, if you don't know me. And I'm delighted to be back here for the 8th year in Helsinki. It's actually 10 years since we started coming here, but we had a bit of a COVID vacation like everyone else. This is our 5th conference of the year so far and our 44th overall. And if you don't know us, apart from this, here's what sort of stuff we do. I'll get out of the way. We run, obviously, PG Connect's shows. We run various media like pocketgamer.com, pocketgamer.biz, a few other B2B sites like beyondgames.biz, awards, events, and loads of other stuff. Everything we do, really, is about connecting and supporting the games industry. Mobile first, but it could be any part of the games industry. And we're delighted to continue that here with our efforts to support the Finnish games industry, which has been really a crucial part, not just of our journey, but of the wider games industry's journey. This really is our second home. We've been running PG Connects for over a decade now. I'll get out of the way of this for a second. So we've hosted in that time, 44 conferences, had 37,000 delegates, catered for over 100,000 meetings, and back of a fag packet probably contributes to over $1 billion worth of deals. Another way to look at this is we've been doing this for a lot of our adult life. That's us there. Can you see that's me 18 years ago? Do I look any different? Yeah, thanks for that. I remember that later. Now, I kind of similar hair, but it's a little bit grayer. But we've been doing this for a long time. And whilst it's not always wise to reflect on past glories, given the slightly challenging time a lot of the games industry, or some of the games industry finds ourselves in, I think I would like to reflect a little bit upon where we've come and how the Finnish industry has evolved and how our part of it has evolved over the recent years. So our theme for today is going to be, or this morning's intro is going to be Back to the Future. Look at that, photo montage work at its very finest. I did that myself. There's no professional production company involved in this. I know it's stunning. So as I mentioned before, we've been coming to Finland for quite a while, and it's played an important part in my journey and our company's journey. I wasn't around for Snake, I'm not that old, but when we first launched our business, we came to visit a company called Digital Chocolate, or Samea Digital Chocolate as it was. It was my first experience of axe throwing, which, as it turns out, you don't do as much, all right? That's not a thing. That was just a thing that they took me to, and nobody's ever done it since. So, and if there's any amateur axe throwers here, let me know. But apart from throwing an axe, what I learned from that is how powerful it is if you can give creative people autonomy, especially within a brilliant studio structure. And that's something, obviously, that team advanced further with Supercell. They gave autonomy to their team. The other thing that we did in those early years is I was a guest of Nokia. I went out to a few Nokia events. This is me up in the frozen north. And I think, again, Nokia, for me, like one of the really the unsung hero of the whole mobile games industry, not the Finnish kind of games industry. We actually made the first and only Engage magazine. It's a real thing. There it is. This is a collector's item. We made that for Nokia, and Engage didn't just sort of birth lots of hilarious memes. It also supported a lot of studios here. A lot of the biggest studios here, including kind of the likes of Rovio and Mr. Good Living, so were kept going by that business. And they were our first advertisers. They supported us as well. So let's fast forward a few years. And here's our first one of our first early events. This wasn't a PGC, it was a mixer. And it's my first experience that my preppy enthusiasm didn't necessarily get replicated there. That was a tough crowd, the Finns. I did work out how to motivate the crowd, though. And then that went from kind of abject disinterest to mild disinterest, which I think was a big improvement. So no, I do love you guys. The thing about this is that this whole event was supported by Neo Games, so I'll talk about it again in a minute. And Neo Games, obviously, and those organisations have been crucial to supporting the industry. Fast forward some more events. This was we did some events with the IGDA and attended a lot of IGDA meets, and that was incredible. The IGDA in Finland It's changed bits over the years, but I don't know if you guys appreciate how amazing it is. This is the best IGDA in the world. The way that you kind of people from the Finnish game studios got together, shared ideas, completely flat. You'd have CEOs of big companies talking to startup students is incredible, and it was a real inspiration to us when we were looking at how we could create our events. So I did that, and then obviously the other side of that is investment. You have TechS, which is now called something else, but that was great. That was a great support system which allowed the games industry to kind of flourish here, gave you some initial money and match funded. And then you had private investment, and this is events from Slush, which is obviously an incredible event. We actually were going to launch Pocket Gamer Connects as part of Slush. I met with a lovely chap called Mickey Cusi, whatever happened to him, billionaire Mickey Cusi now. He went on to launch Vault, but we were going to work it. We didn't quite make it, but the next year we did come back with Pocket Gamer Connects Helsinki in 2014, which was here in these very halls. This was our first show, and we're back to where we started. Over the years, we've hosted some of the biggest names here, from very established kind of studios now, had a lot of fun, and had some big nights as well. So karaoke's a thing, I love it, that's great. And we've been to different places. Well, we were, as you may remember, who was here who was in PGC last year? Hands up. Yeah, so we were in the Cable Factory. One of the reasons we're not in the Cable Factory is not available this year, but we're still deciding for next year. But we'll see how this goes. We might stay here, we might go there. But we obviously back to where we are now. So that's us. In that time, the Finnish games industry has evolved pretty impressively too. And we know this, but again, because of Neo Games, there's some great data to collaborate, to pull together all the different data sources. And we can see that the industry, according to Neo Games, not my estimate, is worth $3.2 billion this last year, and employed over 4,100 people, of which 400 of those are outside Finland, but the majority of those are inside Finland. So this is incredible. It's an incredible industry growth, and it's incredible to have generated so much money from such a comparably small kind of workforce. I think actually at one point, if there still aren't, Finland was the most efficient sort of game revenue for games per capita in the world. So it might still be. It was certainly up there. Okay, so that's Finland. Finland's brilliant. You know it. You hear it. You love it. What about the rest of the industry? I'm going to have a quick look at some of the trends and the situations we find ourselves in. I'm again going to look to a movie for inspiration. This is Back to the Future 2. This is terrible, isn't it? I'm sorry. I didn't spend that long on it. I know you can't tell. But if you remember Back to the Future 2, there was this kind of famous scene where the kind of holographic Jaws, which looks a lot like Hungry Shark, or Hungry Shark. Is it Hungry Shark? You know, what's it called? Crazy Shark? No, Baby Shark. It looks a lot like Baby Shark, doesn't it? I'm not going to play Baby Shark. I did that at a recent event. People complained. I won't do that. But this kind of put me in mind of some of the dangers that are facing our business at the moment. The industry's having some struggles, and I've taken the filmic motif and extended a little bit more. So we have IDFA. We know mobile game developers will be particularly aware that the changes to the privacy have caused privacy settings and the accessibility of data have caused a lot of problem for marketing in the mobile game space. I'm still kind of struggle that can't be overcome, because we didn't have all this data when we started, so there's got to be a way around that, but I don't do that. We have got lots of people who are experts in this space. We're talking on our growth track. I think that's later on today. So we'll talk about ways of getting around that. There is an even more sinister force, apparently, threatening us. I don't know, is there any Web3 people here? Well, they're afraid to come out now. I know that the attitude to Web3 is slightly more mixed here. We're still on the fence. So the crypto bros are out there to get you, apparently, or are they? Is this an opportunity or a threat? I don't know. We're still waiting to see. We've got a couple of tracks tomorrow. If you are interested in how that space is getting on and where it's going or where it's going. But the dangers aren't just IDFA, aren't just crypto. I have a lot of people come up to me when I do my talks and go, "Oh my God, you're always this upbeat, you're always sort of being positive about the industry, and it's really difficult. We're facing some really big challenges." And so yes, I agree. There have been some kind of icebergs. There have been some icebergs. There are definitely struggles there. I'm very cognizant that studios are having to lay people off. I'm very cognizant that some people are struggling. I don't take that lightly. But in the bigger scheme of things, this industry is still in pretty good nick, and I think we will kind of overcome. So I'm more of a kind of I prefer my ice, I guess, in the glass half full. So I'm more of a positive, forward-looking type of fellow, like my heroine here, Rose. That's paint me like one of your French girls. Moving on. Anyway, and the reason I'm kind of upbeat is, as I remember, going back to history again, I remember this. This is where we started. This is Pocket Gamer 1.0. And this is 2009. It was even later than we started. That's the devices we had to work with. Like, you know, back then, it was so hard to even get people to get mobile games. Again, we made these magazines to try and explain to people how to get a game onto your phone. That's how difficult it kind of was. And even if you did get a game on the phone, as a developer, you were lucky if you got 30% back, never mind a 70% revenue share. You'd probably get like 10% if you went via an aggregator. So that's kind of where we came from. But now, last year, mobile games was 56 billion downloads of games in 2022. And that was in our slightly down year, our first slightly down year in like 25 years of bull run. The games industry had a bit of a blip, admittedly, but historically, it's been accelerating along. And now, according to Newsy, the purveyors of all things data, this year we're expected to kind of return to gentle growth and to kind of right the wrong. And if you look at any forecaster, and there are loads of them available, and that's their business, I get it, everyone is very bullish about the industry going forward. Yeah, there is turbulence, but they're bullish about it going forward. The more interesting thing for me, though, is not just the big numbers, it's how our industry has evolved and how we've gone from different platforms and formats, from the arcade to the PC, handheld games came in and out, mobiles took over, consoles kind of grew steadily. And this is obviously an ongoing chart. We've got kind of VR and cloud in there. Web3 isn't really in there yet. And we haven't got technologies like kind of AI. And over the next couple of days, we're going to look at reasons to be cheerful as we go forward. I think the games industry is incredibly good at embracing new technologies. And I think a couple of those I want to highlight now. We've got AI. That's one of the key trends for me still. Everybody here. How many people are working with AI? Hands up. Interactive. Come on. Most of that, that's good. Most of the audience, I know Finns don't like putting their hands up, but most of the audience is doing that. AI is everywhere already. It's not a coming thing. It's already being used. Graphic design, in writing copy, in sort of designing levels even. The VR space, also still relatively small, but interesting. We've had Apple kind of join with their handily priced $3,500 headset. That's great. But yeah, that space is starting to make money. We've got the VR Virtual Visions track tomorrow, which we'll talk a little bit about that and where there's opportunities there. That visual computing space is growing. The investment market. Now, this has been challenging. As anybody knows, who's been trying to raise money recently, the kind of taps which were flowing crazily for a few years have kind of dried up. But there are signs that these things are starting to, the tide is starting to turn, and it's kind of led by the kind of a lot, not all, a lot of the listed companies doing quite well, which again gets people excited about M&A and investment in the space. And we've got talks about this tomorrow. M&A was insane last few years. Just M&A and investment levels went from about 32 billion in 2020 up to 127 billion if you include the Activision Blizzard King deal in that, which isn't yet done. But this is all from Drakestar Capital. I didn't make these numbers up. So, but you know, and that went crazy over a few years. This year's going to be lower, obviously, but we are starting to see some signs. We saw Savvy by Scopely, obviously right here. Rovio was acquired by Sega. So that's kind of fascinating. We're starting to see more deals come through. Maybe even the Activision Blizzard deal might even get done very shortly. So we'll be covering that tomorrow. We've got a Show Me the Money track tomorrow afternoon, I think, and the monetizer comes in some of those elements. But you can also keep track of all the latest comings and goings in this space on our website. And if you can get involved yourself to boost those numbers in our Investor Connect, which is kind of happening this morning. A couple more trends. Newer markets emerging fast. This has always been a global industry, and more so than ever. The markets, even though last year was a downturn for some parts of the market, places like the Middle East, particularly Latin America, Southeast Asia, India, all kind of growing. And yet again, I think the Middle East in particular is going like a train. It's going to be the fastest growing this year as well as it was last year, up to 7.2 billion, up to 574 million players. We're going to have, later this afternoon, we've got a Global Trends and East Meets West track talking about that. There are big opportunities there in these emerging markets, even when sort of Europe and the US may be a little bit flatter. And kind of final key trend I wanted to mention about before I go into the thing is gaming for good. As games cements itself as the leading media format and the entertainment format, that great power gives us great responsibility. We need to ensure that our industry gets headlines for doing great stuff, for helping people in the pandemic, for helping regreen the plant forests. We're working with Games Forest Club to do things like that, and not for loot boxes or terrible working practices. So, and despite the current layoffs, holding on to key staff is as important, if not more than ever. So we're going to be covering this in our company culture, industry visions and values, and also in the incredible indies, who are still the lifeblood of the creative lifeblood of our industry. We'll be covering how indie developers can still help us drive the industry forward. So that's all happening tomorrow afternoon. And that is because games is the number one media category. You guys are working the biggest media and entertainment category in the world. By some metrics, we are bigger than TV, film, music, but by some metrics, we're bigger than all of them combined. We've got some of the coolest TV kind of properties, like Laftus was huge. What was the biggest grossing film of the year until Barbie knocked it off the spot just, I think, last week. And then obviously, you still get these great concerts with music artists and streamers from other media like Netflix getting involved. Obviously, that's a very interesting local story because they acquired Next Games amongst their studios. And the story's only going to get better. Right now, we're already the biggest. But for the future generations, games is just bigger and bigger. We have, for Gen Z and millennials, gaming is a more attractive form of entertainment than anything else. For the next range, it's called the Gen Alpha. I don't know how old that is, but he could be anything. He could be 27, I don't know. But these people are raised with gaming controllers in their hands. So the future is bright. This is the best time to be in the games industry. So I want to, before I give a very quick overview of what's happening for the next 2 days, I want to kind of just leave you one more film reference and say, remember who you are. You are the guys that have created this industry. You are the guys that have been kind of the overlooked, the red-headed stepchild of entertainment. The music industry looked down on us, the film industry looked down on us. Even for mobile, even the games industry looked down on mobile. But we have built this industry together, and you guys have done amazing things. And remember that. Remember who you are. Small point of reference. I thought this quote came from The Matrix at the end where he's stopping the bullets. Actually, the quote comes from The Lion King. But I do think it still stands. Remember who you are. That was to Simba. Right. I've now piqued your interest. I'm going to very quickly rip through some of the things that are happening the next 2 days. We've got 20 tracks of content. You know all about that already. If you miss it, it's great to see stuff live, obviously, but if you miss anything or you want to catch up, we've got this video vault, which comes live about a month after the show, and you can catch up on everything. All the schedule is available here, and it's also listed within Meet to Match. You can plan your meetings and your talks together. And if you haven't been to Meet to Match, please do. Even if you're just going to go in and say, I'm not really interested in meeting, it just helps us clear the backlog, and it's good manners. That's the main meeting system for the whole the whole event. There's the expo floor. There's plans for elsewhere. You can see it outside. We've got 3 tracks. We've got a career zone. We've got the meeting tables, expo in the middle, and the big indie zone. And do pop into the big indie zone at some point and vote for the best game, and using Stationary Bike Brew, and they'll get an award at the end of the show. So go and play some games there. We've got fringe events going on. Investor Connect is happening now-ish. Indie Pitch this afternoon for mobile. Indie Pitch, that should be PC console, not mobile again. That's happening tomorrow, and the Publisher Developer Speed Match is tomorrow afternoon. Sorry, I've copied and pasted the wrong thing there. Oops. If you need help, we've got a help desk. Don't go to them until about 11, ideally, but we've also got online resources and an email where we can help you. And if you like not tweeting, if you like Xing, you can X yourself to death. You can X everywhere. What do we say now? Is it just post? Does anybody say X? I don't know. But you can tweet, come on, a hashtag PGConnects. Wi-Fi is on the badge. You don't really need that, but it's there in case you need it. Obviously, this event doesn't come together without help, so I need to say a huge thank you to our gold sponsors. to SmartX, to 966, to Agio, to Moloko, to Digital Turbine, CleverTap Gaming, Exola, and Data AI. Can we have a round of applause, please, for them? They've supported us. Thank you. Also, to Guard Square Play, Zebedee, Photon, Keyword Studios, Helpshift, User-Centrics, and Future Play. Thank you again for your support. Silver sponsors, we have bronze sponsors, and we have track sponsors, we have associate sponsors. Thank you to all you guys. We have the Global Game Jam, brilliant guys, as our official indie partner, and we have loads of media partners that have helped us. And finally, two final things. Thank you to our incredible speakers. 160 speakers have given their time. Please be gracious to them. We love you guys. Thank you so much for contributing to this. We can give the Steel Media team, it's really me that does most of it, but if you want to give them some credit, they're outside. No, there's a whole group of people that do all the real work. I just stand up here occasionally. And the nearly final thing, Steel Media is now part of a bigger group. We're part of the Enthusiast Gaming Universe, which is this big media group based in Canada and the US. It's NASDAQ listed, it owns a load of properties, it does cool things with the NFL. It was #1 ComScore gaming property in May, TikTok channels, esports, all sorts of stuff. And obviously, thank you. So thank you so much for coming. Without you, just me standing on a stage, I can do that. I do that at home. But it is nice that you're here. I get a little bit of feedback, so it's good. If you like this, we've got plenty more, obviously. We are in the Middle East for PGC Jordan in November the 4th and the 5th. And then we're going again to the Middle East to Neom, the as yet not quite built Neom, so I don't know how it's going to work, for our CEO Summit in Saudi Arabia in December, which should be interesting. And it's definitely worth, as I said before, the MENA market is growing rapidly. There's lots of interesting companies out there. It's definitely worth a visit. And then we will be back for the Grand Tamale, London, in January 22nd and 23rd next year. And before all that, having a party this evening. Hurrah! Yay! I knew you'd like that. So I think that's it. I've hideously gone over time, but I always do that, so.